Hey, you guys, welcome to the Online Course Creation Summit. I'm your host, Devin Slavin, and I'm thrilled to be bringing you this series of interviews and presentations from top online entrepreneurs and course experts from around the world, here to teach you how to design, build, and launch your own world-changing online course. And I have an amazing guest here today, Dana Malstaff, who is one of the people that is dear to my heart. I met her this last year, and she's an author, she's a course creator. I'm gonna bring up her actual bio. She's a mother, business and content strategist, coach, podcaster, and blind spot reducer. You know, that's key if you're in business, right? So Dana is author of Boss Mom, The Ultimate Guide to Raising a Business and Nurturing Your Family Like a Pro, and founder of Boss Mom Movement. With over 10 years experience in program development, she has over 6,000 students in multiple platforms. When she's not creating new courses or building new strategy tools for creative entrepreneurs, she can be found chasing her son on the beach, rubbing cheeks with her new daughter, and thinking of the next fun new family adventure. So with that, I'd love to welcome Dana to our summit. Hey there, Dana, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. And you're dear to my heart too as well.
Thanks. Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Thanks for joining us to bring all of your epic wisdom to the Online Course Creation Summit. I wanted to just, before we get started, invite you to, if there's anything that I missed that you wanted to say about yourself, or, about what you're up to lately that you want to share before we get going.
Gosh, no, I think you got it. I'm a mom first. I'm an entrepreneur second. I'm passionate about both. So I basically work with women in a community that are boss moms. Actually, I have some boss dads that I work with as well, but who just we want to not feel guilty about being entrepreneurs. So it's about going out and doing what you want and knowing you can create a thriving environment for yourself no matter what. And it's important, I think, that we show the world and our generations what it is we're passionate about. So we don't have the parents or grandparents that look at us like we're crazy when we quit the 9-to-5 to go start our dreams and say, but that was such a lucrative, consistent paycheck to go off and pursue your passion. We want to raise a generation that thinks that's the norm. So that's what I do every day.
Oh, that is so awesome. I'm so down for that. Yeah, cool. Well, and what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the other thing is, you guys, Dana here has a huge, as you could hear in her background, a lot of experience with different things. She's familiar and expertise in the whole course creation process. But today we wanted to focus in on the subject of really like finding the course that's inside of you and how to take the idea that you might have and turn it into a course. And we're going to get into all those details. But first, before we do that, I wanted to start off by asking you, Dana, how did you get into creating online courses? Like, what drew you to that as a business model or a skill to have and to offer to other people?
Sure. I got fired. I think that's always a good. So I've always worked with really small businesses ever since, the beginning. And my very first job, I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. So I love to, record, tell stories. But my first job out of college was actually, I used to translate the old movies into DVDs. And so my job was watching old movies and translating them. And I found I had a good eye for strategy to figure out how we could pair the movies together. I, from there, got hired at so I went a couple different jobs after that. And I was doing sales, which I hate, at downtown Chicago in the Opera Building. Like, I felt super cool, hated my job, but felt super cool for this French company. And wasn't happy, didn't love it. But it was basically, I went on vacation. And when I came back, I had told my brother and my now husband at the time, I don't get it. You guys get to have the rest of the time off, and I have to go back to this job I don't like. Well, when I got there that day, they let the whole office go because they shut down the U.S. office. So I came back home and I was like, okay, well, I guess my prayers were answered. So here I am. Let's all take a nap because we've got jet lag. Now what am I going to do? So I went and got into corporate wellness is sort of where I fell into. I had a friend that was in insurance and health insurance, and she got me in. And everything that has to do with is all course-based. You have to, in order to help people, you've got to create coursework that helps behavior change. So I got really, really deep into behavioral modification. Like, how do you actually get people to change habits, change behaviors? And I was so intrigued by that, and so intrigued by the value of creating a guided experience for somebody, that I just fell in love with it. And from there, I've gotten out of corporate wellness altogether, but the behavior modification component, the same way that you help somebody lose weight or gain happiness in their life, or do those things that are sort of emotional based or behavior based, are the same ways that you help somebody start their business, or you help somebody to create different content or create a course. It's all behavior modification. It's stepping out of your norm and getting to do something you're not used to doing, giving you a guided experience for it. So you're more likely to be successful and share your value in whatever way is best for you. And I just loved it. So then now 10 years later, I do it all the time, and I'm a content creating machine.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. That is so cool. I love that. It's interesting, by the way, a little theme, like with the interviews that I'm doing, find out a lot of course creators got into it just like straight up because life put them in that place. They didn't necessarily seek it out in a way. And so that's really interesting to hear that happened for you. And I love also the theme, the behavioral modification, like essentially, transformation, change, creating the life that we want to live. And I'm all about that. And so it's just this interesting theme with course creators and people who want to bring their gifts to the world and make a difference to the world. It seems to be a common thing. So stoked about that. And then, so specifically with online courses, like what draws you to them now, or maybe what do people, why do people come to you to create a course? What do you think is there for people, and like sort of what draws people to create courses?
Sure. Well, I think what draws people to me most is that I'm very heavy on the strategy side. So creating a course, I tell people the actual creation process is easy, because they already are passionate about it. It's already something that they love. They already know it. They're already an expert. We think that the creating the course is the hardest part, but it's not. It's the making sure the course fits really nicely into your overall business, where you want your business to go, what do you want it to look like, how you're going to funnel people in, what that structure is, what that nurture system is going to be. So the course creation is the easy part. It's the getting people to understand how it all fits in and runs like an engine for your business. And that's generally why people come to me, because there's a really heavy strategy component. But a lot of my students are in smaller courses. So I've got, the bigger courses, but a lot of times I'll pull out. So a lot of what I talk about too is multitasking your content is, you're pulling out little pieces of larger courses or other things that you're doing and making them little mini nuggets that you are either giving away for free or putting on other platforms or hosting on your own site. And that's where you can pull people in on the really easy, inexpensive level. So it's the low barrier to entry. And they're coming in and falling in love with you that way and your teaching style. And I think why people love online courses now is, one, because it's so easy to get the information. It's a guided experience. Like I said, the main reason people take online courses is they want a guide, they want to make it easier, and they want something that helps them make decisions. Those are the three things. So that's what a course does. That's what it offers. It says, I have a formula, follow it. I have a way to show you from A, B, and C, follow it. I've got a 30-day challenge, do it. There's a beginning, there's an end, there's a result they want to get, instead of this ongoing idea. And so a course sounds amazing, and we can buy them and pull them in our own home, and we're totally pumped about it. And you can make a crap load of money doing them if you do them right. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you? It's like they're so hot right now. Course.
So hot right now. Totally. I couldn't agree with you more. And gosh, I love what you're saying. I'm really I think interesting strategy, by the way, to talk, to relate to courses. In essentially, you didn't say this, but like they're almost marketing in themselves, for the rest of your platform. So I love that.
Absolutely.
On that, if possible. And now I actually forgot the other thing that I was going to say, but that's so rad. So, well, maybe we should dive right into that process.
Dive in, yeah.
You said it's, easy for people usually to create content, which I can relate to. And, my experience is like that people have maybe a vision for the course, but once they start putting it together and then they're like connecting the dots to things, it becomes like this total challenge of like getting stuck and not really sure how to move forward with it. So can you tell us a little bit about like how do you guide people to navigate that process of connecting all those dots and creating their content strategy and everything?
Yeah, sure. So the very first thing that you start with is there's a Venn diagram. I can provide it for you so you can show people without me showing my hands. But you've got your gift, your passion, and the need. And so your gift is what actually comes easy to you. So a lot of times what people say is, well, I've started a podcast and I know how to do it. So I'm going to train people on how to do a podcast. And you're like, okay, but you can do it. That doesn't mean you should do it, or people asking me about this thing for website creation. And so I'm going to create a course on website creation, but I don't really love it. And I'm good at it, but I'm not amazing at it. And it takes me a lot of time. What we want to find is that niche of what comes easy to you, that you could talk about it for days and you're able to kind of form your own models for it and how you do that that's unique to you. And I can go into that in just a second about an exercise to brainstorm that. And then the second part is your passion about what do you actually enjoy doing? What do you actually get up in the morning and go, yeah, because when it comes to the creation process, it's super easy if you love it, what it is you're talking about. And if you don't, then it's ridiculously painful and hard because you don't feel comfortable. You're just going to come off that way and you're not going to be able to add the value that you really want. And then the need is making sure people actually want it and will pay for it. So that's the going into like, is it a soft sell or a hard sell? Are you selling them something they don't need right now and they don't really see the urgency and they don't maybe even know they need it versus the thing that is they need it now and they want it. That's why all the ads you see on Facebook that are about like make $70,000 in 1 month, you're like, that's amazing that I want it and I want it now. And then they always tell you make an online course and then sell and launch that online course. And you're like, oh no, it's so brilliant. But so that's the part is, and we can talk about how you actually figure out what that need is. So that's where I say that's where we live is in that 3 spot. You want the sweet spot where it's honing in on your gift, honing in on what you actually enjoy doing and honing in on your need. Because if you don't do that and you just do something you're really great at and that there's a need but you're not passionate about, you're going to end up making money but being unhappy. If you do something that you're really great at and you're passionate about but nobody needs, you're going to end up being happy but broke. And if you do your passion and there's a need but you're not really good at, then you're going to end up overworked because you spend way too much time doing things because you're not good enough to do it really quickly. And the things that you can do in 15 minutes that it takes other people a whole day to do, that's your gift. That's like nice. That's the spot, the sweet spot where people come to you and they're like, how do you do that? I don't even get it. Like, Devin, how do you create coursework? You do it so seamlessly. Or how do you create those sales pages that are so beautiful and amazing? I could never do that. And that's when you go, okay, wait, now that's my gift. Like I'm realizing that that's my gift. And so the way that you figure that out, the best way to brainstorm kind of what you should do is you create a list. You brainstorm a list on the left side of a sheet of paper that says, that's basically all the services you currently offer, and write down any big questions that people ask you, like they ask you to do things or they ask you how to do things, and brainstorm those out. And if you can, the more the merrier, basically. Like don't think it has to be a short list. And then you make 3 columns on the next to the list. And in the first column is you actually love doing it. And you scale it from 1 to however many number you have, being you absolutely love it. If you could do it every second of every day, you would do it and scale it. And if you have ones that you're like, but I like doing all of these things, you have to choose. Like decisiveness is all about what entrepreneurialism is. So then the second column is the need. So say scale it again from 1 to whatever number. If you went out and said, do you need this to somebody? Like, would you pay for this? What are they most likely to say yes? Do they see that they need it right now? Is it imminent? It's going to help me make money in a certain amount of time. It's going to help me grow my business. It's going to help me lose weight. It's going to help me do these things. Or is it soft where it says, I'm going to make you happier in some kind of period of time, but I don't know it? Like, is there really something that they can hone in on that they'll need immediately and scale that from 1 to whatever number? And then the third one is uniqueness. So think about, are you using someone else's model or did you learn from a bunch of people and now you do it your own particular way? Like you're in a branding and you do your own particular way of intaking people in, or you have your own methodology for creating a course, or you have your whatever that is, it's uniqueness. So make a check mark next to anything that you do that you could actually say, I do this in a way that's unique to me. And then you go in and you find the top 5 or 3 things that have the lowest number in the first 2 columns and have a check mark in the 3rd column. And that's your short list. And then you go out to your community and you say, these are the ideas I have for creating a course. I think I can add most value. Which one do you guys like most? And then you let them help make your decision for you.
Brilliant. Oh, yes. I love that. You've totally simplified this really complex process that I've worked with a number of people, and we'll be in the whole course creation process as a group, and some people are still back at the beginning of trying to figure out, they cycle back to that. So that's a great way of just put it out in front of you and have your columns and then pick the top 3. And I really like what you said about bringing it to your audience then, because there's that part of we have these ideas, of course, about what we want, but if we don't get feedback about the actual people that we would be offering it to, if we don't get their opinion, then it's almost like we're making a course that we don't know if anyone would buy. And that's really dangerous. Like all the time that we put into it, that's just like all of a sudden you realize you're going the total wrong direction of what your audience wants. So,
and you're not building buzz. That's the other thing. So the secret weapon, I'm telling you, the secret weapon to course creation or any kind of launch of anything you're doing in your business is you let your community make your big decisions for you. So like when I wrote the Boss Mom book, they decided on my title, they decided on my tagline, they decided on my cover. When I was creating the course, they decide on that. When I'm deciding my opt-ins, my community tells me which one they like best. When I'm deciding my webinar topics, my webinar titles, when I'm deciding the theme for my sales page, any decision, big decision, because the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is making decisions, right? You don't have a boss telling you do this. You have to make the decisions, and you reap the benefits or the disaster that comes after that decision. So let your community help make those decisions for you. And then they have a buy-in. And then when you go to release it, say, look, I did exactly what you told me to do. And I'm adding exactly the kind of value you said you wanted. Remember me. And I already have you on my list because I enticed you by the opt-in that I made that you told me to make. So now I'm going to, so it's much more likely that people just know, they've got it in the back of their head that it's like that reminder that they kind of know your name. They know what that is. They know what you're creating. It's not a surprise. They don't feel blindsided. They've helped you make decisions in your business, and you feel more confident in your decisions. So it's easier to make and easier to sell because they've helped you along that journey. So the actual secret sauce to creating coursework is get your community to help you make decisions.
Oh, that's so genius. I'm hoping that all of the course creators here checking this out are getting that piece right there, that secret sauce of just asking your community. And I'm curious, Dana, what do you think, for people who are just starting out, they don't necessarily haven't really gathered the community yet? Are there any strategies that you might have to offer for those people in that situation?
Yeah, sure. So whether Facebook is your place or LinkedIn is your place, the groups there are like magic places of money-making capability. You want to live there. They build community, they build trust, they build love. It's like having friends over for, wine or coffee or whiskey or whatever it is that you enjoy. And so you want to live there. So the best thing to do is if you don't have a community and you don't have groups you're already in, so I'll take Facebook, for instance, but LinkedIn also has great groups depending on your target audience and market. Go in and search in Facebook your keywords, so if you're doing branding or wellness, or you're just creative entrepreneurs or women or moms, and they'll show you a bunch of groups, and go in, take 10, 15 minutes to skim through ones that you think might work for you. Join 5 of them. You join 5, and for a whole week, I want you to dedicate at least 30 minutes to an hour each day to going in and not promoting yourself at all, but I want you to find comments that relate to what you would be talking about, your expertise, questions, things like that, and just provide expertise, answer questions, and like things so that people start to get to know you. At the end of the week, pick 2 of those groups that actually really speak to you and what you like, because you can't manage more than that if you really want to be involved. Now those people have known you, spend 1 more week, and this is all while you're kind of doing coursework, so you're not wasting time, you're double dutying it. You go in and you contribute for 1 more week in those 2. And then that's when you start asking questions. You start saying, hey guys, I'm new here. Everybody's kind of gotten familiar with you. I've got this course coming out. And what you do is when you ask questions, you do it in 3 options. You always give them 3 options. If you can add a picture, that's the best. And say, look, I'm working on this course. It's on A, B, and C, and I'm thinking of, these are the titles that I'm thinking about. Which one speaks to you most? Here's a, either type out what it is or do a picture of each of the, the titles. And all they have to do is say A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, whichever you prefer. And so what you do is you start getting the comments of people telling you what they like and don't like. And then what you do is you then look at that group of people who actually comment more. So they say A, because I really enjoyed this about it, or this really is a challenge I'm dealing with. Those are called your super users. Those people you actually reach out to and ask them to have a physical conversation or on phone or Skype conversation with you. And that's where you dig in deep because you're talking probably to your ideal client. So there's a very structured way that you go from nobody to a community. And that's just that's the phase 1, because the next phase is then actually building your community. But that's a way to find a community and get them to help you without feeling salesy, with getting the maximum kind of engagement and actually getting them to help. That was a long answer, wasn't that?
That I wanted that answer. That was genius, and I'm sure that that's going to help a lot of people. I wish I would have done that when I was getting going on my own.
Me too.
Oh my God.
It's a learned process, believe me. Like, I did not wake up as a baby and go, I think I'm going to ask the community to help me make decisions. It's going to be brilliant. Yeah, no, that was a painful trial and error learning, and I realized, like, when you find something as an entrepreneur that works, then the best thing you can do, and this is how it works with coursework that'll make it so you're making the best coursework, is find your methodology, find your model, find your process. So I work a lot with coaches, and they'll come on and they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to have a call, and then I'm going to let them, I'm going to coach them. And I'm like, well, what do you coach them through? Like, what's that process? And they're like, well, I'm going to ask them a question, and then I'm going to help them. And I'm like, no, you have to have a methodology. Like, you're going to make so much more money if you have a methodology to the way you do something. So the best thing you can do when you create a course is outline what you want to deliver first, just even high level. Yep. You outline. So before you even go get the buzz, go get the title, you just outline really high level what you want to deliver. And then from there, you back it out. And that's how you decide what your opt-in topics are, what your webinar is going to be, what your, all that kind of stuff. So it guides back to this, where you're going to splinter things off. And then from there, once you've got that all figured out, then you can go and actually start making the course. But generally, you don't even make the course until you've done all this stuff first. Yeah. Because why make a course and spend the time if nobody's going to want it? And you're going to find out that want here. They're going to find out what the need is, what the challenges are, so you can answer them in your course and modify your outline as needed. But that way, everything in your strategy guides towards your course, even your blogs and your tweets and everything. And then you make it. So there's this like middle place where you go, and then you go backwards, and then you go forwards. I don't know if that made sense at all.
Totally does. I really actually like how you articulated that, like that threshold, because I hear about, I've definitely heard a lot about and learned about minimum viable product. And it's like this genius idea. Like, why don't we come up with an idea and see if it sells ahead of time? And that process totally works. And then in my experience, it's actually way easier said than done. So it's like, I have this thing, and
So that's interesting. I think that's how the outline helps, though, because what people think is they go, well, I'll create a blog and an opt-in and a webinar to sell this thing, but they haven't really thought about what the thing is. Like, to have the minimum viable product, you have to decide what the minimum viable product is,
right?
What it's going to deliver. Because the worst thing people do is they come to me and they're like, okay, I've got all these blog ideas and these Periscope ideas and these YouTube videos. So that I've got covered. I just need help creating my course. And then I'll go, okay, wait, hold your horses there, Tiger. Let's take a look at it. Because ultimately, when we look at what they want to do for their course and what they really want to create, nothing here fits it. It's like this weird stretch. And now it feels really salesy to tell them about their course in all of this, sort of craziness of content they're creating. So the best thing you can do is create this beautiful, simplistic line for people to where when the next time they see you, they feel gently pulled in a loving and compassionate manner towards the thing they're going to pay you for. That's what you want. And everything else. So we go the outline, you back up to the webinar, you back up to the opt-in. And then you back over here and you say, here's the kind of main content I'll create. And then in this string, we start to say, okay, well, I have a podcast. How can I fit my podcast in a way that leads in this direction? And then you can offshoot that and say, podcast, here's how I'm going to structure that. Okay. And I also do periscoping. How am I going to fit that nicely in? And maybe I've got, affiliate partnerships. So you create this beautiful line, and then you can consciously decide how the other things you're doing in your business fit in and fold in into your ultimate plan and guide that you're bringing people on, because the journey matters. Like getting people to feel like you've supported them and offered them all the content they need along the way, so that every time you offer something, it's like they didn't realize they needed that next thing. Right. That's the beautifulness of it, where they're like, oh my God, how did you know I wanted to make a course? And you're like, well, I first gave you a mini course on how to price your courses. So I assume you want to make a course. And from there, I gave you a really nice guide that shows you how to outline your course. And we did a challenge. And now it's really obvious now that this is what you need. And by the way, I have it and you should pay me for it. And they're like, please let me pay you for it. And then everybody's happy.
Totally. Oh, I'd be happy with that. I want to mention too, by the way, because I know you and I've seen your work, that I think you actually do that on a single sales page too, right? Like you're doing it with your podcast and connecting those together, but I've seen your course sales pages before, and it's almost like you're taking that same longer arc journey and taking people through that on a sales page, which I think is pretty unique and pretty amazing, because then it doesn't feel like you're being sold so much. It's like you're taking someone on a journey with you as they read and find out about your course itself. So I think
and we can actually link it in here. I have a podcast episode that I did that walks you through the exactly what should go on your sales page.
Oh, really?
The exact 1, 2, 3s of what needs to be on your sales page and how to structure it, which you need for your course. And then the next thing I say after that is a sales page will not sell your course. A sales page is like the final piece to them saying yes. It's like the final confirmation. It's like they've walked to the end of the aisle to marry you, and then they open the veil and they're like, okay, you're still attractive and I like you. This is good. I want it. Like that's the analogy. They're not going to go to your sales page cold turkey and buy your stuff. Like it's not going to happen. Even if it's a $47 thing, like they have to either know you and love you from building them in a nurture system, either on social media or on, Periscope or video or your email list. And so if you're thinking you're going to build a sales page, it's important. It's hugely important. But if you're thinking it's going to sell it for you, it's not. Like you have to actually have a strategy that builds people there, so they're already warm and fuzzy and in love with you. And it's just the final thing that just seals the deal. There
you go. I love it. Yeah. And that takes a ton of the pressure off too, probably. Then like, I have to have this sales page and this video does everything that, what if somebody's finding out about me for the first time? Does it make them
they shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, for most of the time, I would say don't even put your sales page out there to the public. Like you should force them to opt in and go through a process with you. Either opt into your, general freebie or your webinar or whatever it is, or they're with you on Periscope every day. Like I would not, I'm going to use crazy analogies. People are going to think I'm funny, but it's like inviting somebody over that's never met you and then stripping down naked and be like, you want some of this? Like, they're going to be like, what are you doing?
Totally.
You don't want to do that. You coax them with some wine, you tell them some funny stories, you put on your lipstick and, and maybe at the end of the night, if all goes well, maybe you get to make out with somebody, but you have to think of your sales page like that. It's like dating. Like you don't want to give all your stuff away and freak people out and be like, oh, I think we should get married on our first date. Like that just doesn't work. Perfect. So you gotta think about what the strategy is that's why all the other content matters.
Yeah. Perfect strategy there. Totally. I mean, perfect analogy, not strategy. I'm not going to use that strategy. I'm pretty sure. But
you'll have to tell me. It might work for you. I don't know. I mean, for some people, they take, if like David Beckham takes off his clothes, I'm sure everybody would be like, yes, I will take some of that. But for most of us normal people, that's not the way it works.
Cool. Yeah. Well, speaking of just calling myself out on something, like, and this is going to change, is that thing you said about the sales page. I'm like, okay, yeah, I was thinking of the same thing. Why have a sales page for a course? I mean, on one side, at least people know about it, but you might as well have them opt into get a guide or a free video series or a webinar to find out about that course. And I know a lot of people are doing that. It's something that I plan on doing, and I totally
You'd
agree
be amazed at the people that aren't, though. I mean,
right.
You'd be amazed that there are people that I know and I've worked with that have poured their heart and soul into creating something and putting it out there, and they wonder why nobody is buying it.
Yes.
And it's the same dating analogy. People don't make commitments. There's a lot that goes into it. Committing is scary, for everybody, and they're committing to you. They're saying, I'm going to give you money, and I'm hoping that you're going to do something for me that you say you're going to do. Like, that takes effort, that takes love and vulnerability for people. And you have to realize that you're not building a sales page. You're building a commitment engine for people, and they have to decide, I'm in. Let's do this. Let's go elope, Yeah. And so you've got to make sure that you think of that it's just the last piece. And so then you have to start thinking that's why I do the outline for the course. And then my whole strategy of all the content I'm going to create that guides people here is the next step for me. Before I ever make anything, because this part in front is what ensures that when people get to me and get to this part, they love me and they want to get in on it.
Totally. Awesome. Well, so, one question that comes to mind for me, so it's like, this is great. So we have the sales page, we have the outline, and that's informing this whole arc and bringing people into the course. And I'm curious what you think. I think there's probably like an ideal level of, content and, sprinkling things throughout and having people go to multiple touch points. I'm curious. I probably shouldn't ask the question like this, but what would you think is sort of like the most essential, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, so I don't expect you to like have the perfect answer, but like
I have answers for everything, Devin.
Oh, awesome. Okay. What would be that, like, the essential or almost minimal, like, okay, if I was going to do a sequence, I've got my course, I know that people wanted it, they decided on these topics, but like, it just as a series of maybe ways that they would interact with you before offering the course. Would it be just the webinar or a podcast or a couple of blog posts? I'm just curious.
Sure. Yeah. So you want the essentials are an opt-in. If you're selling a course that's a couple $100 or more, then you want a webinar. I mean, that's just the best way, or some online training that you're offering. But a webinar is the best way to engage people for an hour and then pitch them on it. So those are the two essentials you want, and you want them to feed really nicely. So, like, for instance, for us, we've got, I have my Trello opt-in. So I use Trello as a project management tool. So I created a tool because everybody came to me and said, I need time management help as mom entrepreneurs. And we need to figure out we don't create business plans as entrepreneurs. So basically, the way we structured it is the outline is for what we call the Boss Mom Companion, and it teaches you how to create your business plan, creative entrepreneur style, and translate that into an actual action plan and project plan for all the things you want to do in the next 6 months, including course creation and stuff like that. So then we backed that out and we said, okay, then I'm going to show my exact formula for translating my business goals into an action plan, so I can show them the high level of how it's done. So then when they go, oh, I want to do that, and I'll be like, well, let me show you how with my awesome course. And then before that, we have the Trello training, which shows them how I use the project management tool to run my business and grow my business, because that's where your project plans goes. So I have those essentials. Awesome. From there, now that I know I have my opt-in and my and the webinar or whatever that is, it's going to like lead them nicely to the course, which then the course, by the way, leads to my group coaching program. So it all has a really nice, simple line to it. So then where are you? Like, if you don't have a podcast, don't start a podcast to sell your course, obviously. Like, that seems silly, but I feel like I should say it anyway. So where are you living? Like, are you on Periscope? Do you do, Facebook videos, or are you in Facebook groups? Do you have your own Facebook group? Like, where are you living? And decide there, that's where you start. So say most commonly people are going to say, well, I have a blog. So what you do then is I want you to take your outline and you pick out from your outline 2 topics from each of the main sections, each of the main things you want to teach them. So if you're like, it's a 4-week course and each week I'm going to do this one particular overarching thing, then pick out 2 main topics that would be interesting from there. And those are the ones that you brainstorm out into blogs, so that when you do that, it makes it really easy to lead them back in to each one of those bits. And then everything you do, I want you to like get, when you're showering in the morning and brush, hanging out and eating breakfast with your kids or doing everything, I want you to practice that every single conversation you have that's with anybody, either online, on Skype, or in person, leads for you to mention your opt-in, your webinar, or your course. And if you can, all three.
Wow.
So on my podcast, I'm constantly weaving into conversation about our Boss Mom Academy, which is our group coaching program. I'm talking about online courses. And for you, I've managed to weave in what my opt-in is, what my webinar is, and what my course is. So everything you do, you find a way, and you start getting really good at it, of finding a way to just chat about little things like, oh, the other day I was doing an interview on my podcast, or you know what, I Periscope last week, somebody asked me a question and it made me think of this thing I created. And so you just find ways to pull it in, to just mention it here and there. It's like a little breadcrumb trail. And that's how you start to build your strategy, is the essentials, and then you branch out from there. And then from there, you find a way that all of a sudden you're mentioning things all the time. And that's when people start going, oh, I love that. Or you need to get on my podcast and talk about that. Or can I get on your email list? How do I do that? Or, oh, do you have an affiliate program? And that's where your course becomes more than just a course. It becomes a business.
Bam.
I know, mic drop.
Yeah, that's a mic drop. We could just, let's just hang out here from now, like the rest of the interview, because
I know. Where's my alcoholic beverage? I feel like I need to celebrate now. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful to everybody, because it's a little bit like, hey, this is what you should be doing. Go do it. But it's so effective. It's so much simpler than we make it. We make our businesses and our lives harder, and we don't need to. And so that's the big thing, is think simple and then consciously decide how you're going to connect everything. But first, create that really nice line for people that's that really simplified journey, and that's going to make a huge difference.
That is so cool. And, one thing that I was thinking as you were painting that picture, what's super cool about doing this online is, I think those one-on-one conversations, with people matter, and in person live, but then also on the online aspect of it, it's like, if you're creating that content, it's just kind of out there like a web, like a net, and people just run into it. And you're already on to the next conversation, creating that next piece, but it's just out there living. And so once you've created all those pieces, then people just start coming to you. Like, I actually had somebody the other day come to me for a website that I think the domain's expiring like tomorrow or something, but it's like an older website of mine. And they came across it, and they asked me if I could create a course for an athlete. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't done that before. But I just didn't even realize that website was even up or getting people's attention anymore. So it's like, that was a wake-up call. But anyway, to bring it all in, it's just like the power of doing it online is, it's just, you create it and it's there. And if you've connected all those things together, people are running into it, because like you said, you're on the podcast mentioning your webinar, or someone runs in your webinar and then they find out about your course, and in the course you're mentioning that other course, and then people want to work with you even more. So
yeah. Well, and you brought up one quick thing is, if you're sitting here going, I already have 20 podcast episodes and 50 blogs or 5, whatever it is that I've already done. Like, I've been in business. This isn't my first rodeo. So how do I connect things that are already created? And the best thing you can do is go back and just in an Excel spreadsheet or whatever you use, just list out all the content you've already created, all the blog topics. In the next column, start categorizing them. Like, what is that main overarching topic that you're going through? And then sift those categories. So you have the batching of like, this is where I'm talking about business growth, and this is where I'm talking about this, or, this is where I'm talking about nutrition and weight loss and whatever, industry you're in. So now you have, instead of looking at 50 pieces of content you've made, you've got maybe 10 categories. Then pull those categories, and with each one of those, do a mind map where the category's in the center, and mind map how your coursework could be linked to this. And then you're able to go back to old posts and say, okay, for these 10 posts, I'm going to pitch my opt-in in this way, or I'm going to talk about this thing to add in. So you can actually update old content to make it relevant to what you're doing now, with just a simple breakdown and brainstorming process. So now you're looking at old content that you're going, it's not doing anything for me, and you can make it work for you.
That's awesome. I love it, because there's always a solution, but I'm sure there's a couple of people sitting there like, Okay, well now I have to start from scratch. So that's great.
No, don't ever start from scratch. So many things. And my one big tip too for I know we're not gonna have time to get to it today, but is for your coursework, one of the biggest things that I tell people is do not brand your actual content that you're creating. So you brand your sales page, you brand the idea, you brand, all those things. But when it comes to creating your lessons, keep your title off, make it super uber simple. And I often tell people, try not, when you're recording your lessons, to mention something you talked about in a previous lesson or something that you're going to talk about in the future. Make them their own thing, because what you'll start to do is start to say, so I, have a course that's on creating courses, and I discovered that pricing is a big issue. So I pulled out, one of the things that I actually have my logo on there. So it's the only thing that's on there. If you have the logo, but you don't talk about anything else. And now I don't even put my logo on my coursework, that says, hey, I pulled it out and now it's one lesson. And I put it on Skillshare on how to price your virtual content and courses, and that it leads people not only to my big course, but I got paid $1,700 last month from that one lesson from a larger course. Yeah, because you pull it out. But if I was in there and I was saying, in the previous thing we talked about, and back in here we talked about here, and next we're going to talk about, well, then I'd have to re-record the whole thing because it's not a one-off. So when you're thinking about it, you're going to end up wanting to multitask your content or, move things around or do things. So make it as nicely packaged as one little thing each time you go, and then you can always guide them in the text or guide them in little welcome videos or offshoots, but you want to be able to reuse your content, so think about that when you're actually recording it.
Oh my gosh, I'm sitting here going, that was an aha moment for me, what you just said. I was like, oh shoot, I'm typing notes on the side, because that is genius. And it's also a little counterintuitive, I think, because I think there's some teachers out there that say, when you welcome them, or when you're bringing them to the next module, remind them of what we just went over. But perhaps you could actually make that as a separate video clip, as an intro or a pre-module to
a talking head one.
Right.
Yeah.
So doing a talking head presentation, not have that. Wow, that is so cool. It sounds a little advanced, but actually that's totally genius. And it's
simple. No, it's so not advanced at all. That's the thing. It's the simple things that are the most powerful things, and we get way too complex. So the one other thing I'll give, because I could give you tips all day long, is have what I call it a parking lot or a forget-me-not. It's either a sheet of paper, or for me, it's a list in Trello. That anytime I'm creating a course, I look at what it is I am basically I go through, here's the core that I need in my outline. And as I go through new ideas, because you're going to come up with all these things you want to add in, I really think, does it help the minimal viable product? Does it help me now? Is it going to help really get them the result? Or could it be phase 2 or a bonus or something like that? And if the answer is I don't know or no, I put it in my forget-me-not or my parking lot list, so I don't forget it and I can use it there later. But that allows me to keep my course to the right length, to the right amount, and I don't feel overwhelmed like it'll never get done, because adding things that you can add later, like coming out with this 4-week thing and then adding bonuses or adding things later, are just icing for people that add value after they've bought it for you, so that they'll want to buy other products from you. But if you just add and add and add, more is sometimes just more. And you'll never get it out. You'll just keep adding things, and then you'll want to put moves. And sometimes you'll do things and you'll want to move things around. And if you've been talking about what becomes before and after, you can't move videos around. You have to re-record, and so it's make each thing its own little thing, and you can intro it with text or that, and then put your parking lot stuff on the side, so you can consciously decide when you add more or when you can just add it later and do a second launch and increase the price or add a bonus for the people that are already in it.
Oh, shoot. Gosh, I wish we were not coming up at the end of our time together. I just want to keep you on here and then get all the goodies for me and the rest of our audience. So, but unfortunately, we're coming to that end time here. So I'm curious, so you mentioned all of these amazing things, Dana. What would you like to share with people in terms of how they can connect with you, or something about their offerings, or how they can find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, the easiest thing to do is go in and get my Trello training because it's really good. I give you 5 of my boards. It's going to help you with time management, help you with project management. If you're looking to create coursework and do these kinds of projects, you want a tool like Trello, and it's free. I call it my work wife, so you'll love it. And that's the best way. And then when you're in there, I'll introduce myself, and then I'll tell you about the webinar and all the other stuff, so you can get it there in that way. But it gives you a lot of really great content. And that's just at boss-mom.com/Trello. So it's super easy, and I'm sure you'll have that in the notes.
Oh.
But so that is that's super easy. However, and actually, no, I'm wrong with the link because you've got a special link. So go to the link you give people.
Yeah, special links.
But so from there, that's the best way to get in because you'll get the best of my content. I'll give you the best of things, and I'm not actually taking one-on-one clients anymore. So I've now moved into group coaching, and and my coursework is all I do. So if you want a piece of me, you got to go there.
There you go. Cool.
That's the way it works.
So how can people find that too? Is that just get on the Trello, the guide?
Yeah, if you get in my training, I will take you nicely through a beautiful journey of all the best of me and everything. Like on the 3rd or 4th day, it'll tell you about the webinar, and you can sign up and hang out there. But also, if you go to the Boss Mom website, you can get those things. But don't even bother doing that because you're going to have really great links for everybody, and just find the links that you have and follow Devin.
Okay. Yes. Follow the next sketchy thing that I'm doing. No. Oh my gosh.
You say that though. All of us have no idea what we're doing. Like we're all doing the thing for the first time until we're not. Like that sounds so like ridiculous, but that's what entrepreneurism is we're jumping off the deep end to figure out what works. And then we train the people who haven't jumped off the deep end yet.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how it works. I do it, you do it, everybody does it. I'm getting trained by the person in front of me so I can train the person behind me, and you're going to do the same thing, and the people that are taking this are going to do the same thing. So it's just the way of entrepreneurialism. We're constantly the 4th grader teaching the 3rd grader how to be a 4th grader.
Exactly. Except for I'm a 5th grader.
Of course.
But yeah, oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Dana. This has been awesome. It's like really a great interview when I get to learn a ton, and it has been one of those times today. I got a lot of great stuff, and I know our audience will love what you shared. So thanks so much for making the time to join us and share all your gifts with the Online Course Creation Summit. And yeah, we look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Absolutely. I had a blast, and go out and make awesome courses and make crap loads of money, and we'll all go have steak dinners together.
Okay. I'm there. All right. Wherever it is, I'm there.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Only grass-fed steak.
Oh, yes.
Only farm to table, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally. And have something for everyone, vegan, whatever. But anyway, okay. Well, excited for that day and look forward to it. We'll catch you on the other side.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.